Well, good afternoon. We are doing a business partner panel today with some of our local industry experts in the manufacturing pathway. So we are going to get started. We wanted to thank you for being here with us today. We couldn't do this without you. You play a vitally important role in helping our students understand career awareness in a little bit different way than what they would normally think of as in a career. So what I'd like to do is start first with you introducing yourself with your first and last name, your title, and the company that you are affiliated with.
My name is Ben Barney. I am the president of a company called Triangle Metals.
My name is Pennybauer. I am a co-owner of a firm in Rockford by the name of Uniwest Enterprises.
Dwayne Branum here, trade marketing manager for Chemtool Inc. in Rockton, Illinois.
So one of the first questions that I think is important for students to know is if there was any type of education necessary to work in this field, if you could share that with us today.
For my industry, there's really no limit at the very bottom of education. I have people at my facility that they just have their GEDs. People that have high school educations and then all the way up to college educations, engineers, accountants, business majors. So really from top to bottom, there's any level of education that you can receive and still be successful.
Very good. Penny?
A high school education, of course, and with the field that I am in, more in the trade area schools.
Okay.
For Chemtool, we're a pretty unique business. We're in the lubricants industry, so there's a wide variety of degrees that someone could take advantage of. General engineering, mechanical, chemical engineering, chemistry, business administration, marketing. Those are some of the programs that I'd recommend, but depending on your role at the company, you don't necessarily have to have a degree if you are working at our factory. But if you're in an office-related role, it's preferred. And then if you wanted to go on into a management level role, masters in business administration are recommended.
Dwayne, and I'll ask this to all of you too, can you elaborate on your career, what education you have that got you to where you're at, and how you got your career, where you started, and where you got to your role now?
Sure. So my degree is considered a Bachelor's of Science of Engineering Technology. I'm from Michigan. I went to Lawrence Technological University, and that school took a general mechanical engineering degree and replaced some of the classes with operations management and business management classes. So that was about 20 plus years ago, and I've been through a variety of roles and responsibility from sales, marketing to engineering and design. So as I look back, that degree really helped me to kind of progress and open up opportunities for professional development for me over the past 20 years.
Great, thank you. That's awesome. Penny?
I have only a high school education, no college. And I came into my profession strictly by osmosis. I have 44 years of administrative experience, and 39 years of it was working in the manufacturing sector. And one of the responsibilities that I had was in purchasing. Being an inquisitive person, I would go out to the back of the factory and watch the technicians actually build a machine. Learning, oh, well, I ordered this part, this goes here, that's what that does. And then 17 years ago, I started in machinery repair, actually going out to schools, the private sector, the manufacturing, industrial sector, repairing machines. And I'm fortunate that my business partner, who has been in the machinery repair business for 50 years plus, is a patient and a very good teacher.
That's great. Thank you, Penny.
So my background is in mechanical engineering. I graduated from Northern Illinois University. I got into an engineering program because I really just wanted to be a mechanic. I was very inquisitive and always wondered how things work. So I just picked the next best thing to a mechanic, which was mechanical engineering, not knowing anything about it. Fortunately, I made the right decision. My growth through my career has been really just constantly wanting to keep learning, wanting to keep seeing new things, never taking anything at face value, saying, I want to know how that works, what's the process behind it, how things keep moving forward, and wanting to be able to communicate that to other people because I really like what I do and I really want to show other people that. So I started off as an engineer, then got into project management, and now I'm the president of the company and going and doing sales stuff, business management. So kind of like you said, by osmosis, I came in wanting to do one thing, and I can still do that, and I still really enjoy doing it, but now I'm doing more people interfacing, more sales stuff, more management, more planning, accounting, all of those little things that I could have gone to college for, and they're all very interesting, but through the company that I've been working with, I've been learning them on the job and being hands-on, being able to accomplish those skill sets.
What I love about your stories is that you started in one place, but through that you got to know, like cross-train, and got to know all the other spaces or places or positions, and now you're very well-rounded. So with that knowledge, what would you say would be good for our students today to take in high school as courses that would be helpful to kind of get them up and running in those directions?
I guess I'm kind of biased because I am an engineer. It would be math, just any kind of basic math skills. I know the fallback that most people say is, well, I always have my phone on me and that has a calculator in it. Like, that's great, but if you don't know basic math skills, it really puts you at a massive deficit. Of course, in my field, which is manufacturing and fabrication, if your school offers any kind of fabrication program, woodworking, anything like that, even if it's a super basic skill set, it's definitely something you want to try to acquire while you're as young as you can, as fast as you can. Even if it seems like it's very trivial, any kind of, I know how to use a hammer, I know how to use a screwdriver, I know these really basic things. You'd be surprised that most people don't know, and that's something when you graduate and you go into an interview and say, well, I know it's something small, but you can at least say, I can build off of this.
I'm going to piggyback on your mathematics. It's really, really important when you're out in the field and you're looking at something, and if you don't know the difference between a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch, you're probably in a lot of trouble.
That's why
You need in high school, you need to be strong in mathematics. I think you need to be able to read and understand something, because sometimes the manuals that are written for machines that we work on, you kind of have to be able to read between the lines. I believe basic electricity would be very good if you want to go into the repair industry. There's really 7 different facets of machine tools. There's electric, mechanical, hydraulic, pneumatic, there's applications, programming, electronics. So there's a lot of different areas that you can either specify in or learn a little bit about. Sometimes it's better to be able to be really good in one specific area. And I think any of the shop programs are good too, whether it be auto shop. That gives a really good way for students to learn how to take things apart methodically, put them back together and have them work. Wood shop, metal shop, anything that helps you to learn about how machines operate.
Yeah, I'll echo that. The thought that comes to mind for me is, don't underestimate a class that can teach you problem solving, right? That's what we're talking about, is problem solving. I have that conversation with my kids often, but you may not, if you like numbers, a finance class or just learning about bookkeeping is still going to teach you about numbers like we're talking about here. Definitely, if you are into using your hands, any of the shop type classes, but I would even add too, depending on the grade you're in, maybe ask your parent or find out with a career development office if there's a way for you to job shadow someone at a company. Could could you go in one day, or can they just tour and you can literally go there and kind of get a hands-on of what job requirements may be, and then make the connection between that and what you're doing every day in your classroom.
That's all great. Thank you so much. I think that gives our students a lot of guidance on what to look for within high school. Be hands-on, take the math classes, be interactive. That leads us into our next question of opportunities for advancement in your career. You guys have talked a lot about starting from and working your way up and learning. What is some things you could talk about in your career that you could tell our students that they have the opportunity for growth and advancement?
Yeah, so confidence is a big thing, right? When you come into an entry-level role, it's key that you're communicating with your manager, kind of understanding what opportunities there may be for you. Also expressing that you may have a plan of how you'd like to progress, right? If you come into an entry-level role in a factory floor, some things I would encourage you to think about is look for opportunities to show you can lead by example. How can you take advantage of a project or get involved in a special project, right, that can help expand your horizon and also demonstrate to the company that you want to grow and you want to learn more, as Ben was saying. Those are huge kind of intangibles that companies look for in an individual.
You have to be inquisitive, first of all, and work with your employee and your peers, and be able to get along with everybody and not be an individual that wants to say, well, I did this, I did that. Being proficient at something and just being able to work with people and just really do the very best that you can, and be willing to learn. Be willing to learn. In the machinery repair industry, things within the last 25 years have changed rapidly. And people in this field are starting to retire. So it's great that there are machines out there, but sometimes when they break, you really need someone that is proficient at repairing them in a reasonable amount of time. Because any type of piece of equipment that is down, that means production is down in a factory and orders can't be processed.
Definitely great communication and being inquisitive. That's something that's gotten me to where I am at this point. Just a general one that I always think I have to keep telling myself, and not just work, but like life in general, is that like it's okay to fail. Everybody fails. I fail constantly and I make mistakes, but the real problem is that you quit. So you never want to quit. If you fail, you say, all right, what did I do wrong in this situation? And what can I do next time? I got a lot of people that have zero experience in manufacturing. And one of the first things I always tell them is like, I'm going to just cut to the chase. You're going to mess something up. You're going to fail. But when you fail, I'm going to come back and I'm going to say, what did you do wrong? And next time, how are you going to correct it? So constantly being thinking about, is this the right way to do it? And not just saying, well, we've always done it this way. Like, okay, well, let's try it some different way. And if you fail, that's okay. At least you want to always try to learn something from it. Just don't fail and then quit. Quitting's not okay. Failing, people always want to say failure is not an option. Like, failure is always an option. It's like the most prevalent option. It's quitting that you don't want to do. So always trying to keep moving forward and recognizing the mistakes you made and constantly improving on them.
Great feedback. We've talked a lot about how you've started at the bottom and you've worked your way up, how you've cross-trained, how you know a lot of different things. Can we talk a little bit about maybe some future trends or even some challenges that go along with your everyday jobs?
So again, our industry is unique. I mean, our company, we form molecules, right? We make products that are used in many different markets. So it's grease, and we refer to it as lubricant. So a grease and a metalworking fluid that might be used in a shop where they're machining metal. I think the biggest trend, at least one of the top few for us, is really finding self-motivated, driven individuals who want to enter into our market. Many graduate schools are graduating great candidates, but it's more driven to a technology type marketplace. Well, that's polar opposite of what we're doing. And I would encourage you to think about this industry, that it's not always just a get your hands dirty. There's definitely room for an individual to grow mentally and learn a ton of information like we're talking about. But it's really just finding candidates who are interested in getting involved in this business, in this market, and then staying with it.
We all know that technology is changing every day. I remember when I had a cell phone that weighed about 3 pounds, and now I'm carrying around a little computer in my back pocket sometimes. With the technology changing as it is, machines started out working manually, and then they started in numerically controlled, and now we're into computer-controlled machines. And it just depends on what each individual likes. There are people out there that run machines that are very, very proficient in running a manual machine, and they don't want anything to do with a machine that's computer authorized. On the other end, you have the younger generation that looks at machines and they say, oh, gee, I want to go work on this one because this has all this different computer stuff. So the technology is really something that you really kind of need to be up on.
Just to build off of that one a little bit, one of the things that I have found to be the most difficult is kind of the devaluing of trade programs. It's almost kind of looked down upon if you don't go to college. I know a lot of people, I have a lot of friends that have gone to college and they've gotten degrees, and then they end up going back and learning a trade skill. So there's nothing wrong with learning a trade skill. So the aging workforce is a major problem. And not being ashamed to say, like, hey, manufacturing is a perfectly viable option that I can support my family with, that I can be happy with, and something I can be very proud of. So learning a skill set and being really happy with it, finding those people is becoming more and more difficult. So that's my probably biggest problem.
That's great. And is that still working? Sorry, it didn't sound like it was working for a second. I agree with you. The aging population is really hurting the manufacturing industry, and just trying to get the knowledge out to the students that there is great opportunity for careers within manufacturing, whether they're entry level and you start and work your way up through an apprenticeship or an internship program, or you go into a technical school and you work your way up through the company and to be successful. I think that leads us a good segue into the next question. One of the things we get asked a lot from our students are, what are the salary? What's the benefits? What kind of money am I going to make? We know that in all of your companies, there are entry-level positions to degreed positions. If you could give us a little bit overview of the difference in pay and benefits on entry-level versus degreed positions, and just some information about how they can gain those skills to increase their pay and their salary and benefits.
An entry-level position at our facility is $15 an hour. I don't know what that salary is off the top of my head. I apologize. Math, that's why it's important. So someone with no skill set but a really good attitude can come in. We will teach them how to do something, and then start off at, say, $14 an hour, $15 an hour, $16 an hour. That's kind of the general progression year over year. Somebody that already comes in with a skill set, say a fabricator, an operator, that would be around $20 an hour. Then an engineer, I'm trying to struggle with it, thinking of what engineers make, because I haven't had to give a review to anyone in a while. Entry-level position for somebody with a degree is probably $50,000 to $60,000 annually. So that would be right out of college with a degree. Again, that's engineering, different degrees. Accounting, business majors are a little bit different, but that's kind of the general ballpark.
Entry level in the field that I am would be about $30,000 a year with full benefits. And that just depends on the company that you work for, whether or not they offer 401k plan, etc. As you get more proficient in certain areas, there's no limit to really what you can do. You could be making a six-figure salary. It just depends on where you as an individual want to go, what specific area of machinery repair you'd like to do, or if you want to cover the entire gamut. But there really is no limit to what you can accomplish. And I base that on two things. One, there's no limit to what you can do if you give others credit, and no person is an island, meaning you need to work with other people as well.
Yeah, similar for us. I guess the piece that I would add to what Ben mentioned is, so we have if you work in our factory, we have to abide by federal guidelines, right, for hourly payroll. So you're going to come in at, in the teen range, depending on your level of experience, and you can work your way up. Again, from if you're in the manufacturing realm, you're typically hourly. The spectrum really ranges when you go over to what we refer to as the commercial side of the business, where you're in marketing, finance, because there's factors that go into that from your experience and your education both. I would probably echo Ben of saying you could use a number between 40 to 50 if you have that's $40,000 to $50,000 if you have a 4-year degree. But like Penny mentioned, I mean, it's really driven by the combination of your experience, your education, and kind of even your success of things that the company's monitored that you've done with the time you've been with the company, that it can keep climbing, and you can easily get into a 6-figure realm of your salary.
Okay, great. I'm going to ask I'm going to do a 2-for-1 question here. First of all, with each of you, I'd like you to think about what's been your greatest achievement in your career. And I also want to ask you how important a life balance is when selecting a career path. The first question would be, what is the greatest achievement of your career? And then, how important is life balance when selecting your career path? So, who would like to go first?
Yeah, I'll take a shot.
Dwayne,
So, I think one of the most important things I reflect on from a success standpoint in my career, for me personally, is I really appreciate helping and influencing others, right? So making a contribution to see other people excel, to learn. And there's been numerous, call it projects, that I've been involved in my years in my career, where I've worked with people, helped them to have opportunity to grow, and then obviously made a contribution to a team. So all of that in my mind is influencing people. So that would be on the first question, right? The second piece, work-life balance. So I'd encourage you, as you're thinking about your career, that can really that's a multifaceted question in my mind, because if you're not ready to start a family, maybe you want to travel a little bit, or maybe you want to do something and gain some experience. So what I recommend someone doing is getting in touch with people at a company, or getting in contact with people in a career field and having a conversation with them to understand kind of what the expectations are of your responsibility when you work for a company, to gain insight on what does that mean? Will you have to travel a lot? Could you travel a lot if you want to? And then you start to factor that into your thought process of, okay, well, maybe I want to have a family, so that's not going to work, so I have to consider changing my mind, right? Because for each individual, it is unique, right? Early on in my career, I would answer that question completely different than I do nowadays, because I have 4 kids, and my life just looks completely different. But if you're coming right out of high school, or just going through college and kind of evaluating what you want to do, there's options. So it's, as we've discussed, be inquisitive, do the research, find out what you can about a career path before you just jump into it.
I think the satisfaction that I get most is to be able to come from an administrative field and go into the industrial field in servicing, but that is probably a one-time opportunity where a lot of people really don't have that opportunity because of my business partner and being very patient and willing to train. One of my biggest excitements, I guess, for lack of better words, is when we go into a lot of high schools and work on the woodworking machines or the metalworking machines. It's always a lot of fun to talk with the students. They, believe me, are very inquisitive when you're working on a piece of machinery. They ask a lot of questions, and why did this break? How are you going to fix it? So that really gives me some satisfaction at night when I go home. As far as life balance, there is a lot of life balance. If you're going to be working in an area for a manufacturer and they're sending you out to repair the equipment that they make, there is a lot of out-of-town travel. So you do want to maybe not be doing that and miss your kids' birthdays when you have a family. So that's maybe something that you need to do early on, and then there's always areas that are open to progress in becoming a service manager or a coordinator and not really having to go out into the field that much. But it really is a fun field to be in.
Probably I got a couple of really, really great achievements that I'm really proud of. One was I'm the youngest manager in my company, and then I became the youngest president in my company's history, and we've been around for several decades, I think close to 60 years. That was really, really cool. And then I got a chance to promote a couple of people, and seeing someone grow and improve, and being able to teach them my skill set, and see them better, and then finally be able to like recommend them for a different position, say, hey, I think this person will be good for this position, and then they excel at that position. That's a really, really good feeling. That's a great accomplishment. As far as work-life balance, I think it's kind of a loaded one for me because I'm clearly the youngest one here. I'm pretty heavily focused on work. I'm not married, so a lot of my time is consumed with work. I guess that's just how I got to where I am, is just spending a lot of time working and being really dedicated, because I really do love my job, and it's okay to be that dedicated if you really, really enjoy your job, because I really love fabrication. I really love manufacturing. So my hobbies as far as like a work-life balance is I stay late at work and I work on like my own little projects on stuff. So.
That's great. Thank you so much for everything. I think one couple of last roundup questions would be, what advice would you give a high school student that's looking to go into manufacturing or careers within the manufacturing pathway? I know we've talked about math, but what are some of the other traits and advice that you would give these students as they're coming through this pathway?
Do your homework. If you're questioning or uncertain, research. We've talked about being inquisitive, but don't give up. I'd say be persistent in trying to learn as much as you can about a career before you want to go there, so it can help you make the decision, because the decision you make, it could have one of the pathways we've talked about, but it could also be life-altering for you. And one of my mottos has always been be a lifelong learner. I'd say that'd be the biggest takeaway for the next generation, is always be willing to learn as much as you can, because it'll come in handy.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question. It's always better to ask than to try and go off and do something and make a mistake. But in the same sense, don't be afraid of making a mistake, because that's how we learn.
What's the question?
The question is, what advice do you have for someone interested in this role?
I would definitely say know what interests you. If it doesn't interest you, then don't do it. I hate accounting. I didn't ever want to be an accountant, but I was like math. So like, oh, math, you should be good at accounting. Like, I absolutely hate it. So then I did mechanical engineering, which is a lot of math too, but it's a different kind of math. So knowing what you really, really want to do definitely helps. Not making mistakes, like I said earlier, like it's okay to fail. Just don't quit. Know how you failed and how to improve on it next time. Being able to work on a team is humongous. Can't count the amount of people that they've wanted to withhold information and say like, well, I know how to do this, and nobody else can do it. So that makes me more valuable. No, it makes you a pain to deal with. You don't ever want to deal with those people. Like I said, one of the greatest feelings I got was I helped somebody get to the next level, and that was a really rewarding feeling. And that brought everybody else up, just saying like, no, I'm not going to let you get any better because I want to step on you and push you down. Like, no, that doesn't help anybody. I found the more willing I am to help other people, the more valuable I become, not the other way around.
Well, you all have offered some wonderful advice today, information. Again, we just want to thank you so much for being here and taking time out of your busy schedule. We really, really appreciate it. So this wraps up our manufacturing session with some of our local business partners, and we want to thank you for joining us today as well.